In a world where it feels like everyone is doing everything, how do you truly stand out? The answer, more often than not, lies in specializing. Today, I want to explore why going niche is more important now than ever, and how to actually find those profitable pockets of opportunity and the key strategies to dominate your chosen specific audience, right? So maybe you're feeling a bit lost in the crowd or just, looking for your next growth lever. Stick around because this episode is for you. What's up, everyone? I'm Jarod Lehn, and this is Fit for Business, episode 72. All right, so let's start with the why, right? We hear this time and time again. So many marketers, so many gurus. That's not what my pitch is for. That's not what today's episode is for. I really want to hone in, like truly, depending upon where you are with your business, what you're trying to do, why these niche markets are really critical today, and especially in this environment. That's what we're talking about, right? Think about it. We all know this. The internet, what you're watching and listening to this podcast today, it's made it incredibly easy for anyone, anywhere to find pretty much anything, anything, right? This means competition is fierce. And trying to be all the things to all the people is a recipe for mediocrity or worse, obscurity. I've been seeing all these ads for almost like a home service based business where they people scoop up your dog poo company, right? So there's a company that goes around, will pick up your dog poo in your yard every week. They come in, they pick it up, and they pay you. You pay X amount of. I mean, it's a brilliant idea. It's such a niche market, right? You're appealing to dog owners. You're appealing to probably dog owners who have yards. You're appealing to dog owners who have dogs, yards, and children. You're appealing to a generation where today, if people have dogs, a yard, and children, they are so on the go and they want to let their dog out. They want their dog to play, but chances are maybe they don't want to pick up after their dog. They don't have the time. I know a lot of people that are like that. So having these types of niche businesses is amazing. These companies are blowing up, right? When you specialize, when you focus on niche, I think you really gain like let's say several mass advantages, right? Reduce competition. You're not fighting against every single competitor of the entire market, right? Like a social media marketer, right? Let's just fucking face it. How many social media marketers are there? Well, there are probably more social media marketers, quote unquote, today than there are Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. I would have to say that, right? You're competing, right, in a much smaller, often less crowded segment. Like I was saying, I don't really know how many companies are out there that will come and pick up your dog poop, minus this one company I know, right? Your increased authority and trust. You are the authority and the trust in that niche market, right? When you focus on a specific problem or an audience, right? We know this, you quickly become that go to expert. People trust specialists more, right? If you have a specific alignment, right? Do you go to a general practitioner or a specialist? Let's think about it. Survey says the specialist, right? It's the same business in a more efficient marketing, right? Instead of broad, expensive campaigns trying to reach everyone, now you can tailor that message precisely to a specific group, right? This makes your marketing more effective and more cheaper. That's what it comes down to, right? We hear the big talk from the big guy, the big man, Alex Ramosi, right? What's your likelihood of perceived value? But I want to talk about that. Higher perceived value and pricing power, right? Let's talk about that. What does that mean? When we solve a very specific problem, a pain point for a defined group, they're often willing to pay more for that solution, right? Think about it, right? Client A will pay more for a solution where there's less people offering that service. Stronger customer loyalty. A niche audience feels understood, right? They feel like you get them. And this fosters incredible loyalty and word of mouth galore referrals. So the why is clear, right? Niching down is really about strategic focus for greater impact and profitability. Now the big question, drum roll please. How do we find a profitable niche? Did anybody think picking up dog poop was going to be a profitable business? Yeah, the people that did this because nobody is doing it, right? And it's not just about randomly picking something small like, hey, I'm going to go door A, door B or door C. That's not what we're talking about, right? It requires research and introspection, right? So let's talk about a couple of strategies. First and foremost, this is what goes without saying. Start with your passion and expertise. Now, are we saying that these people that started this dog poop picking up company is their passion? No. Maybe they love dogs though. Maybe they love helping people. Goes hand in hand. I'm not saying they like to pick up shit, but they like to help people. The joy that people get, like, hey, now I have a clean yard. My kids can go out and play because there's no more dog poop, right? What do you genuinely enjoy? This is a big one. What are we already good at? What am I good at? Right? What problems do you inherently understand or have experience solving? Right? Authenticity resonates, right? Here's another example. Classic. If you're passionate about fitness, right, and understand the challenges of busy parents, perhaps fitness coaching for busy parents is a starting point, right? You identify the pain points, unmet needs, right? Where are these people struggling? People being the parents, right? What problems currently underserved or poorly solved, right? What's the existing solution, right? Look at forums, groups, social media, right? Customer reviews of competitors. What complaints keep coming up, right? Hear about this. Here's another example, right? A specific type of small business, a local artisanal bakery, right? Artisanal, excuse me. I always mess that up. That struggles with digital marketing. Big pain point, right? Target a specific demographic, or I like to say psychographic. Instead of serving all businesses, focus on small businesses, right? With under 5 employees, or let's say tech startups, right? Right, that are in their seed funding round, right? There's a lot of that going on. Or a psychographic like eco-conscious consumers, right? Or first-time home buyers. That's another big one. Instead of business coaching, right? Try business coaching for solopreneurs, right? You transition from corporate jobs, right? And you want to leverage underserved geographics, right? There is a specific town or country region where a particular service or product is probably lacking, right? It is out there. Not everything is plentiful as we may think it is. You know, I wouldn't say look for trends, but don't chase fads, right? What's emerging? What's what shifts are creating new needs, right? But be careful, not to jump on something that hey, it's here today, but gone in 6 months, right? Test and validate. Once you have a few ideas, try not to jump in. Talk to potential customers in that niche. Run some small tests, see if there's genuine demand and if they're willing to pay. Remember, a good niche is specific enough to avoid broad competition, but large enough to sustain a business, right? It's a balance. And I found that out the hard way and the hard way. So let's say you identified your niche now, right? How do we dominate it? How do we go about being aggressive, right? It's about becoming the undisputed authority in that niche, right? Deeply understand that niche, your audience, go beyond the demographics. What are their hopes, their fears, their aspirations, their daily challenges, and the language? You have to know the language barrier, right? If you're going to speak to a specific audience, you need to know how to speak to them, the tone, the topics, the language. The more you know them, the better you can serve them, right? You have to tailor everything: your product, your service, your marketing, your message, your content, even your customer service. It all needs to speak directly to your niche. They should feel like you built your business just for that niche, just for that service, just for them, right? So here's a very one off example. Right? If your niche is software solutions for independent graphic designers, your website language should probably be something like this. Your product features, your support should all be tailored to their specific workflow and challenges, right? Become the go-to content creator, right? Produce valuable content, videos, shorts, long form content, podcasts, social media content that really specifically addressables, that unique problem and interest of that niche, right? Be generous of your knowledge. Don't contain it, share it, right? Engage where they are. Don't try to be everywhere, right? Find the specific communities, online forums, the platforms, right? Or Real world events where your niche audience congregates in person. Yes, in person. Socialize, interact, network. That's what it's all about. It's not just sitting behind the camera, sitting behind the screen. I'm not saying not to do any of that, but don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? Build a strong brand identity. Brand identity is crucial. That is what we need in today's society, your brand. People want to go back, look at who you are, look at your brand, your first impression. Social media is going to be first, website's going to be second. Your brand should be visually and verbally communicate that you understand that it serves this specific group. Consistency is key. Huge, right? Deliver exceptional value and service. Because you're focused, you can often deliver a superior experience more than a generalist, right? Word of mouth is incredibly powerful in these niche markets, right? Talk about a pressure washing company. One of my fan favorites, one of my clients, Harold, owns a company in the Hudson Valley here. Had the pleasure and privilege of working with him, who's a close friend now, over 3 years. To see his business grow by leaps and bounds has been amazing. Again, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, and it's not shy of hard work and busting his ass day in, day out, or I'd say a good 11 months out of the year. We all deserve some time off, and he's no different. His brand is his bond. He has a big brand. When his trucks are on the road, people know who he is. Chances are they've seen him on social media. And he has a niche market, and he kills it, and I love it. And this is what we're talking about. But you have to put your money where your mouth is and do the work, right? Niche. Don't get complacent, right? Any niche evolves, and yours is going to be no different. So you should have your offerings, right? Stay attuned to their ever-changing needs. Dominating that market means becoming indispensable to that specific group of people, right? It's about being the first name that someone comes, hey, that niche, what do you offer, right? That should be it. So to wrap up today's topic of the discussion, right? In a world of increasing noise and competition, right? Dumbing down, niching down, it's not about limiting ourselves, right? It's about focusing on your superpower. And that power is really about finding your specific tribe, understanding them better than anyone else, and servicing them with unmatched precision and dedication. When you do that, you not only stand out, but you build more resilient, more profitable, and ultimately a more fulfilling business. That's what it comes down to, right? That's what we all want. So I encourage you this week to think about the business, think about the model, and the people that you're trying to serve, right? Is there a specific segment within your current customer base that you particularly love working with, right? I have that. Find them, find the exceptional value. That might be your niche calling, right? So, thanks so much for tuning into this week's Fit for Business podcast with me, Jarod Lehn. My hope is that this episode gave you some valuable insights to consider on your entrepreneurial journey. And if you enjoyed this episode, we hope you did, please go ahead and subscribe that button above, whether it's on YouTube or if you're listening along on Spotify. We'll see you on next week's episode, guys.